February 27th, 1985. It was a Wednesday. It was about 5:15. I had just gotten home from work and come in. Char and I had talked about, since the kids were going to spend the night with their grandmother, that we would get a bite to eat and go to a movie. And I was just changing shirts and what have you, and the phone rang, and I went and picked it up, and it was a man. He apologized for calling me at the house, said he had kind of an emergency situation. It had a circuit breaker go out hooked up to his freezer. Was there any way I could help him out? And to be perfectly honest, I mumbled under my breath, but when I said, well, sure. Tell you what, I'll meet you out at the store in 15 or 20 minutes. And when I hung up the phone, I told Char, and she said, well, why don't I ride out there with you? Maybe you won't get caught up too long. She knew me well. I can talk for long periods of time, if you haven't noticed. We jumped in the car, we took off, we got out to the store. There wasn't anybody there yet. We went on inside. We were there maybe 15 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes, when there was a knock at the door. And I went to that door expecting a grateful customer. Instead, we were confronted by a man with a gun. And we cooperated. I opened the safe. I gave him what was there. I gave him my wallet. Char gave him her purse. And then he told us to go out there, and he gestured over to the showroom area where the cash registers were. I knew the money wasn't money in the registers, but he had the gun. As we started out of the office, Char was beside me. He was a little bit behind. We were all moving. And as we approached the door, I started to push it, and I turned to look to see which way he wanted us to go. And Char stumbled. And the first shot was fired. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again. My next conscious thought, I was lying on the floor and I hurt. I had been shot 3 times. Left arm, right leg, and here in the abdomen. And it was quiet. And he was gone. And then I saw Char lying face down in a pool of blood, a large pool of blood. I got to my feet. I ran to the phone. I called for help. And it was only then that I went towards her and she coughed. I got down. I grabbed some plastic that was up on the top of the Coke machine. And I got down on the floor beside her to try to stop the flow of blood from her head. And then I lifted her head, and then I saw her face. To this instant, I retreat from that next image that is forevermore burned into my recollection. It was for me the absolute confirmation that life is sometimes devoid of all reason, and there are things beyond my capacity to endure. Literally, I cursed my God. I don't know whether my scream was out loud or not. Char died in my arms. And I can't remember if I said goodbye. For Tom and Christie, our son and daughter, and I, though that was just the beginning of the nightmare. 16 months later, I was indicted, arrested, and charged with the capital murder of my wife. I could not believe it. I mean, I knew it was happening, but I could not comprehend it. However, I kept clinging to what I'd been brought up to believe, that once we got to trial, the truth would out, and justice, whatever that is, would prevail. I knew it couldn't be made right, but I thought it would be brought back into some kind of balance. And I was wrong. Following a 2-week trial during which the state of Alabama asked a jury to condemn me to death, it was a death penalty trial, I was convicted. I could not believe it. I had a lawyer, by the way, by the name of Paul Young. I had hired him for $1. It was all I could free up. They had frozen my assets. They're not supposed to do that, but by the time that little question got cleared up, I was one very broke yuppie in so many ways. And Alabama doesn't have public defenders' offices, so the state of Alabama appointed Paul Young to represent me. Now, I didn't get the death penalty. I got life, which for me was another way of dying day by day, but I guess that's another story. Now, it wasn't until years later that I found out why I did not receive the death penalty. But in fact, folks, it was because I had an all-white jury. Them folks looked too much like I did, and they lacked the guts to go for the kill. Now, please understand, I'm grateful. But had the color of my skin been a little bit darker, I'd be sitting on death row in Alabama today, or I'd be a dead man today, and that's a fact.